And we are live. So, welcome everyone to It's Time to Excel, where we inspire and we ignite all the possibilities that are around us each and every day. And sometimes you just don't see them because too often, forest for the trees, you know how that goes. But I am so honored here today to have Georgia with us, and she's with Daily Dose Wellness. And we were kind of batting back and forth and talking a little bit and having an opportunity. And of course, my whole topic this month has all been about budgeting. And some of the things we've partnered with is I've been able to share some of the budgeting tips and tricks that I share with you guys with her group of folks. And of course, I wanted to invite her on so you can kind of learn a little bit more about her and see what kind of options are out there because budgeting by all means is something that is an absolute necessity. And it goes to the overall wellness of not only your business, but let's think about it. You got to budget your time. You've got to budget even some health. There are so many things that we can kind of intertwine this together. And so, Georgia, I want to thank you so much for joining us today and just having an opportunity to kind of share a little bit about what we're doing and what you have coming up and a little bit about you. So I'm going to open up the floor and get started. How about telling them a little bit about who you are and kind of what you do with your company?
Sure. Well, first off, thanks for having me on here, and hello to anyone listening in. As Jan said, my name is Georgia Humpsney. I used to work in the business world and left that about 2.5 years ago. I just burnt myself out, so I decided to start Daily Dose to help people in a corporate setting really prevent burnout and just kind of help feel mentally and physically focused. So I mainly work with businesses. I do open up the option for individuals to join our sessions. For example, we do a Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday at 12 o'clock, sort of as a lunch break in your day, and individuals can join those. So Jana and I work on those together and definitely want to open that up to anyone who would like to attend our next session, which is on budgeting. That'll be on September 21st. But yeah, really just trying to help people navigate all the different areas of wellness. I think financial health is something that is often overlooked because when people think about wellness, they think, okay, what's my diet like and what's my exercise schedule? And there's so much that goes into it from a mental standpoint, finances being one of them, that often get overlooked. So I think the work that we're doing is extremely important.
Absolutely. And what you're doing too, because the burnout, I mean, I get that all too well. I was in corporate America as well. And it's nothing to put, 60, 70-hour work weeks in, at week in, week out. And all of a sudden you still have more deadlines. And it's like, wait a minute. And before long, you are burnout because you just haven't taken the time for you. And that's what's so important with what you do is reminding folks each day, you got to take care of you.
Yeah.
Too.
Well, and funny, I saw some clip that someone had sent me about, the difference between Americans and people abroad. And, a lot of Europeans will take the whole month off for vacation. And so it was an example of an out of office message. And the European person, I forget what country specifically, but it was like, I'm out of the office on holiday, so reach back in with me, in September. Let's say this is like in August. And the US out of office says, hey, I'm going to be out of the office for surgery this afternoon, but you should be able to catch me on my cell phone, or I'll respond as soon as I get out of surgery over email. And it's just so funny. We won't even give ourselves a day off to go take care of a health problem.
That's true. That's very, very true. And we have Melinda with us that's joining us live here today. And she's probably one of those ones that, kind of forgets to take time off too. And on vacation, working 24/7 on their vacation.
We all do it. So it really takes a lot of practice to incorporate self-care. I know self-care is a phrase that's been getting a lot of, a lot of discussion around that and incorporating self-care practices. And that could look different to everyone, but I think just trying to get in the habit of things and incorporate that into the day-to-day in small little increments. That's what we try to do with a lot of our programs is, people come up with these lofty goals like, all right, I want to save $10,000. Okay, well, how are you going to get there? Why don't we start by, going to Starbucks one day less a week? Really just breaking it down so that it doesn't feel like this massive mountain we have to climb.
And it makes so much sense. And I think that's what we've been talking about all month here on this whole budgeting thing is we're planning. We're planning for our finances. And kind of what you're saying, you've got to plan for you too. You've got to plan to take time for you. And I know that I'm just as guilty. I mean, I've pulled that same stunt. Took me hitting the hospital, in ICU to wake me up. I needed a 2x4.
Yeah.
Because I kept thinking I could do it. And I did up until enough was enough.
Yeah.
And I suspect the folks that you work with, you've found that to be the case. And that's what you want to prevent them from getting to. We want to start having them plan. So what are some of the standard tips that you kind of share with folks, or you got a little nugget or so that you want to share with this audience? Because these guys are predominantly entrepreneurs who, do it all. They have to balance all the hats. They've got to. Yeah. So what suggestions do you have there? What do you think?
So I would say trying to be more proactive in whatever your healthcare routine, and that could be physical, that could be mental. Once again, I think mental isn't the area that gets overlooked. And that one is so important because once we get to that breaking point, it's really hard to try and feel like we're in a good place. So I try to encourage people to put measures in place now. And unfortunately, that's not our culture. Once again, we, push, like to your point, Janet. And then we get to this breaking point, and then we just feel like it's too hard to get back to a good place. So if you can start to incorporate daily things you can do, or even start at weekly and work your way up. And like I said, that's going to look different to everyone. So what I try to encourage people to do is look at what the stressors are in your life to start. So what's happening the most regularly that's really causing you anxiousness or stress? So one example I give is, when people are late to things. Some people I'm always late to meetings. Why? And then you're probably showing up frazzled, stressed out. You might be speeding to get there. And it's just this whole series of events that could be avoided. So how would it look like if you were to, tell yourself that the event starts 10 minutes or 15 minutes ahead of time? I did this one year, Janet, for a New Year's resolution, and it changed my life. I was like, this is so much better. I actually am removing something that's so easy, that's a stressor. Now, once again, you could do it once and then go right back to the way things are.
Absolutely.
And that's the tough part, is really just trying to make something a routine and a habit. And I highly recommend this book I read recently, Atomic Habits, by James Clear, and all about how can we incorporate these habits. So maybe stacking it onto something that you're already doing. Like, once I have my cup of coffee, I'm going to sit down and practice gratitude and say 3 things I'm grateful for. That way I'm framing my day in a positive way. I mean, that's something that doesn't cost anything. That's easy to do. And it probably takes 10 seconds. So just trying to think along those lines.
Makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. And how often we do get, and you get frazzled when you come flying in. It doesn't make the impression that we want to make. I mean, it's going to happen periodically. Let's face facts. But if it's your norm, then that's definitely something to be thinking. What is a norm, as you were saying, like being late, or, what's going on, what's happening, what's causing that to be there? You put 15 minutes. I had a friend, I loved them dearly, but you know what? I would always tell her like half an hour sooner than what she needed to be.
Right. 15 minutes might not be enough for some people.
I mean, it was just one of those things because they were always late. So I just learned to give her like a half an hour ahead of time.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, okay, we're going to leave out at, 9. I'm telling her 8:30, and we'd be on time, I'm like, okay. And I'm like, oh, well, we're making good time. I just left it.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
But it does make a difference. But something that's simple, what can you do? And I think even in the back of my mind, I do what you do. Like I automatically just tack on that extra time, because now you can show up because you've planned to be there. Sometimes you can also have things laying out. They used to laugh when you lay your kids' clothes out for them in the morning.
Hey, it's a time saver. And it's that stress, because how often in the morning are the kids waking up on time that you're out the door before you need to? I mean, from what I've seen, I don't have kids, but watching just my sister and how she handles the morning routine with the nieces, I mean, yeah, laying things out ahead of time totally makes sense to me, because as much as you try and plan for the next day, throw kids in the mix and all bets are off.
Oh, it is crazy. It is absolutely crazy. They used to laugh at me because, of course, I was at work at 7 a.m. So I had to drop Kyle off when he was little, at 6:30 basically. Which, an infant little guy, he was in daycare right up from the beginning. And he's like, okay. And they used to laugh at me. We slept in sweatpants for anything that I didn't have to dress him in the morning.
All right, once again, saving time and stress of figuring out clothes. Absolutely. I went to an all-girls school. We wore a uniform. And looking back, I'm like, that was just so easy to wake up and know what I was wearing every night.
Yeah, or in my case, I just dressed him the night before.
Yep. There you go.
But you do what you've got to do. And that's part of it, is taking that step back. And that's exactly what we're talking about with budgeting. We're taking a step back, looking at where we want to go, and then putting those steps in place to get there. I always talk about, the emergencies, they're going to happen. They're inevitable. They're not something you don't know is not going to happen. If you work on a computer, you're going to replace it in a couple of years. If you work and you are profitable, which I'm guessing in business, that's probably the goal.
Sure.
You're going to pay taxes. It's a good thing if you have to pay taxes. That means you're turning some money. There's a positive thing to this. Yeah. And I think focusing, when you're talking about mindset too, focusing on that positive side. Okay, right. Well, then let's put some money aside for it. Let's take that time and plan for that, just like we do for our health, just like we do on finances and things like that. And I'm excited with the budgeting, because I think, that often, as you mentioned, gets thrown to the bottom, because wellness is just about health, and it's not.
Right.
There's a lot of different pillars there. And you focus a lot with the corporate world, because there's a lot of stressors out there.
There are
coming in and, getting the opportunity to share. So for those that are working that corporate environment, this is a great opportunity for you guys to reach out to Georgia and get to know a little bit more about her. She has a website here, which you can always go over to. And I think if I can type ready, we're about to find out if I can type, which I make no guarantees, but I do think I type. All right. So, you're welcome to check out, because I know that you have a bunch of different programs that are coming through, and you'll customize your programs as well. So
we do.
Share a little bit about that?
Sure. So we have an ongoing program called Wellness Wednesdays, I mentioned earlier, which is a 30-minute lunch break, really just to help you step away from work and listen in on a different topic we're focusing on. So each week of the month, we focus on something different. The first Wednesday is always a yoga meditation class. You can do it right at your desk. The second Wednesday, we do a nutrition segment. The third is when we focus on financial wellness. So I'm going to put a link for that one in the chat. Let me know if you could see that. And then the fourth is a rotating variety topic where we bring in things like mindfulness, ergonomics, that sort of thing. So even though we cater to businesses, that is something that you can sign up for as an individual. So I just put a link for that if anyone is interested in an upcoming session. Also feel free to reach out to me on our contact page, and I'm happy to give you more information, whether it's for you or if you know a business that really could use something like this. We're based in Raleigh, so we can do in-person wellness services as well, but most of our clients right now are virtual, so you don't need to be based in Raleigh.
Perfect. Well, we got everything. I see that it was in there. I'm going to repost it in again just to make sure that it goes, because sometimes I'm not quite sure technology that I know exactly what I'm doing. Often build a plane as I'm going, but I do see it out there, and it is posted now. So I was able to get that out there. Check it out, because these Wednesdays, and I've been privileged and had an opportunity to share a little bit with taking that break for you. It's only a half an hour.
Yeah.
Aren't you worth a half an hour?
Yeah.
I think we are once a week.
We love working with, another thing I'm passionate about is working with different clean brands. So a lot of times on that variety week, the fourth week of the month, we'll work in one of our affiliate partners. So, brands like doTERRA, Beauty Counter, Norwax. I've just become such a fan of any company that, has cleaner products in our home, because since I started the business, I'm becoming so educated on, what we're ingesting. And I think people, once again, automatically think of food. Okay, I need to buy organic. and then they're putting on body lotion, body wash, face creams. I mean, women especially, think about how many things we're putting on our face and our skin in a given day. And a lot of that, unfortunately, has a lot of harmful chemicals that disrupt our internal organs and systems. So not to be dire, but really we try to just help educate people. And I know Janet is a big proponent of that as well. And a lot of the women that we're connected with do touch on that because it is such an important topic. And really, it's not meant to make anyone feel like they should be doing something different or guilt you into things.
Education.
It's just education. And the more people that we can let know about, anything under that massive wellness umbrella that we're all touching on, it just gives you the information to decide what's right for you and to pick the things that seem to be resonating the most, because there is just so much out there. We can't do it all. So just finding, listening in on these sessions that Janet and I do and just really picking one or two nuggets. I tell people, start with that. Exactly. One or two things.
Start where you're at.
You'll feel the pull towards that. There's sometimes I'm listening in on a webinar and I'm like, nah, that's not for me. And then
other ones, it's like, bam.
I need to do that. I need that product. And on that note, Janet, you might be disappointed with me. I will admit I'm not typically a budgeter, but knowing that gives me the information to try and do things that I think could be helping, like investing my money where it's just almost on autopilot and I don't have to think about it. So I don't know your feeling on this, but I'd love to bring it up.
Sure.
One thing I recently downloaded was one of those apps that rounds up your spare change and puts it into an investment account.
Okay.
So the one I did was Acorns. I know Chime is another one.
There's a couple.
But for anyone who is listening, essentially the idea is if you, let's say you go to Starbucks and you buy a $3.50 coffee. I don't know if anything costs that little there.
Can we get $3.50 anymore?
A $7 coffee. It'll round up the 50 cents and almost put it in an account. And then you can decide whether to donate it, invest it in a mutual fund, and these different options. So thoughts on that, Janet, our budget expert?
Well, one thing I know that we've done, like when we used to pay cash for everything. Now I'm dating because I've kind of moved away from that. My husband fights me tooth and nail, but he's not home enough for it. Since I run it, I got to do what works. But what we used to do when we used to do the envelope system, that's how I did. We get our paychecks. I'd get my little cash. I'd put them in the envelopes, and I had him trained that you're allowed your envelope, and that was it. Wow. But what we would do is after the cash, we both dropped our change into a jar, which is exactly what you're saying that you're doing. Like we were dropping the change into it. And believe it or not, one thing we were able to do when we first, when we were back then, a few years back, we've been married over 25 years. But we used to make an extra house payment every year with that money.
Oh, wow.
One extra
a lot of spare change.
Out of spare change, which guess what? That. We were able to have our house paid off. It was a 30-year mortgage, kind of a deal. We had it paid off like in 10, 12 years, like somewhere in that vicinity. Now, of course, we put other additional money because I was also a firm believer. If we had 3 paychecks in a month, those extra paychecks, so we had 4 in a year with both of us working, also went to the principal. So there were some things I did, but just by doing something like that, because my budget was on 2 paychecks a month, not on 3. It was extra money, quote unquote. So what did I do? I put it towards something. So exactly what you're saying makes a big difference. I haven't done the actual apps for that, kind of a deal. There's an app for everything. Haven't done that one, but I can vouch that we paid our house like in half the time by doing, as I said, one of those payments was always based upon the change from the year. I mean, it was crazy on how just change can roll up into there.
Yeah.
And then mutual funds, you got to put some kind of a savings back. Eventually, you're going to need it.
Yeah.
So I'm a firm believer, however you're going to do it.
Right. And one thing I learned just, again, since starting the business is just the power of compounding. And, even if you don't have a 401k or even if you don't have a savings account, if you just put something somewhere to start that could be making money for you, then that money multiplies because then you're building off of a higher amount each as time goes
Each
on.
time. Yeah.
So really just, it doesn't matter how late you're getting started, but just start with
Start.
something and start today. If I could tell anyone anything, that would definitely be my advice, when it comes from a financial standpoint, because I think when I was younger, it's harder to think, oh, retirement, that's so far away. I don't need that. But luckily, I did take advantage of, when I was in the corporate world, my company's matching my 401k. That's another thing I'll say. If your company matches, if you work for a company, I know it's a lot of entrepreneurs on here, but if you do work for a company and they match your 401k, maximize that to the fullest, because it's free money essentially.
Exactly.
On the table.
And I've done that my whole entire corporate career, is I put in the bare bones to match it out. And then you would go from there.
Right. Exactly. That's the starting point. But looking back, I mean, now that I, have a little bit more financial smarts than I did at, 25, I'm looking saying, wow, thank gosh I did that. Because at the time I was thinking like, well, I'll deal with retirement, later on in life. That's so far away.
So far. By the way, it's here tomorrow.
Don't tell me that. No, I don't want to think about it, especially understanding that the money is running out with Social Security and all that. It's just.
Yeah, that's one thing in my lifetime. They're like, I can't count on Social Security. There's no way.
Yeah.
And I think I've got a few years on you. So that being the case, we're both in trouble when it comes to that.
We're in trouble. But the teenagers, keep it positive. We can, we could take action now, and that'll compound over time. And
exactly.
So that's another tip. Just start with something, even if it's $5, and then build from there.
That's what I've been telling my son. I'm like, take $2. I don't care if it's $1. Just take something. And that's what I've encouraged my business owners. One of the biggest things is your business is supposed to support your lifestyle, which in other words, when it comes to getting paid, your business is supposed to pay you. And it shouldn't be an afterthought. It should be much more of that profit first mentality where you take a chunk off. I don't care if that chunk's $5 right now. Build the habit.
Exactly.
Build the habit. I don't care if you have to put $10 in to make your bills. Build the habit.
Right. Well,
and it's part of the swing.
Right. And especially if it's something you don't have to think about, that's almost an automatic payment. Every month your bank is putting $50 into, some sort of investment account. In my case, it's, doing the app because I don't want to have to think about it.
That's okay.
And I'm more amazed by how much is in there. And I don't feel it coming out of my wallet because it's cents here and there, but it does add up. And then that gets invested.
Exactly. And that's what I encourage them. I'm like, as I said, I don't care. Let's take $100. I don't care if you have to put $200 in. One, we're going to code it right by doing that. Two, we're going to make sure we know what your business is doing, because you may need to be making some better decisions. But if you are constantly pulling money out of here or there and you don't have that all structured right so that you're coding it right so you can run the reports, you may not realize what's going on.
Yeah.
On the opposite side. So either way, you can save yourself some money. You've got things prepared for this craziness called retirement that eventually we're all hopefully going to get there. Or in the flip side, making sure you're making good decisions now so that you do get a paycheck.
Right.
And it's consistent money coming in. And I assure you, if you can build the habit now, just what you're saying, build the habits in wellness, build the health. We got finance, nutrition, my brain's gone down on what those 4 topics were. It was nutrition. I might have to go back and look. Yoga was the other one. I forgot about yoga.
We're forgetting the most, financial wellness.
Yeah, that one was good. Financials, always got that one out. I can grab first. But yeah, the yoga, but it's kind of like you're building a foundation for you. And your foundation isn't just one part, just like a table is not one leg. It's multiple legs to support the table. It's multiple legs to support the foundation that is you. Yeah. And that involves from finances to your health, which includes nutrition and exercise and a lot of mindset. And that's the cool thing about what you're offering. And, the Daily Dose is out there, Daily Dose of Wellness, because the wellness is a big picture. Yeah. And we want to encourage each and every one to really, really take advantage of that. The link is out there. Please check that out. It's every Wednesday. As I said, various topics there. And come join us. I will be there on the 21st because we're going to be talking about budgeting, one of my favorite topics to kind of have some fun with,
Yeah.
and just some tips and tricks and kind of things, because it doesn't have to be complicated. And that's what I focused on this entire month. It can be pretty simple. We can make it complicated, but that nobody's going to do that. So what can we do? And it all boils down to exactly what Georgia said. Start today. Start where you're at and start today. So what else do you have? Any other things we want to share with this group? We kind of get them thinking.
Yeah. One other thing that's just coming to mind that I think people forget to do when they're budgeting, they'll lay out all their bills, what are the necessary payments, but we forget to build in a fun budget. And
that's a good one.
Let's call it self-care because we're in the wellness space.
Or I'm good with fun money. I don't care.
Fun money too. But basically the point there is to really make sure that you're budgeting for things that you like to do and bring you joy. Absolutely. Because that's just going to help you show up better every day for work, for personal life, love life, kids, etc. And so build that in. And then when you do spend that money, don't guilt yourself for it. I think a lot of times we've just been conditioned to think, oh, I shouldn't go on that shopping spree, or I shouldn't go on that vacation. I can't afford it. And these are a lot of limiting beliefs and just thoughts that have been ingrained by us, maybe from our parents because they grew up in a different generation. So really, if we're able to account for those dollars, have them every month, but then let yourself enjoy them. I think too often people just are afraid to spend it, or, I have friends that are like, oh, I just went on the shopping spree. I shouldn't have done that. Well, if you're going to do that, feel good about it, because otherwise
budget for it, have fun.
Right. You're out the money and you're feeling guilty, which is just going to, if you're going to do it, have it bring you joy and make sure it's something that will bring you more joy than stress.
And that makes a lot of sense. I know we used to budget to be able to go out and eat, because that was what we like to do, because my husband's a truck driver. So he's not in a lot. So we wanted to go to a nice restaurant, or didn't have to cook, just kind of take a step back a little bit or do something. Sometimes we just did a real quick bike ride somewhere. Bike would be motorcycle. So with living with a truck driver,
more adventurous than I am.
Close by could be 4 hours away or more. But those types of things, we would plan to do that kind of stuff. And while we were out, our whole entire trip revolved around what he was hungry for, what restaurant he wanted to try when he was out and about. So that was just our thing, that we would do that. But I would put money aside. So we knew how much we had. Yeah. And we're like, okay, today's the day for the trip. We budgeted the gas, like whatever it was going to do, that little amount. And it wasn't real expensive. We were going to eat anyway. Right. We may as well gave us time together, and, gave the grandparents, after Kyle was born, gave, grandparents a chance to come down and visit with them because they got to babysit, and we took off for the day.
Nice.
Just a bike trip tended to be 10 to 12 hours, I learned a long time ago that almost home could be Maryland, and we lived in Pennsylvania, little things like that. But little things like that make such a difference. And that's a great point. And that's, I think, a great way to end this and kind of really wrap everything up, because it's all about taking care of you. All of the different pieces, build that foundation, and wellness is across the board. So thank you so very much. I am so grateful that you had the opportunity to join us, and I'm looking forward to joining you as well. And folks, please take advantage of it. Go out to Daily Dose-Wellness. The website is there. Check out that link. Take advantage of that. It's also in the chat there. So go ahead and grab that. Take advantage of it. And join us on Wednesdays just for half an hour to take care of you. So thank you so much. Great to have you. And I look forward to talking with everyone soon. Join us each and every week here at 11:30 on Wednesdays, where we have an opportunity, because it is, after all, your time to excel. Take care, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Have a great day.